In the heart of Ouagadougou, under the golden sun of a new day, Captain Ibrahim Traoré stood before thousands of citizens, waving flags and cheering his name. He was not a king, not a dictator, but a soldier of the people. And on that day, he made a promise that would shake the whole continent. "I will organize elections in 2026, he said into the microphone. "If I do not win, I will walk away. Power is not a crown, it is a duty." The crowd roared. Everyone knew what he had done. He had fought against foreign interference, thrown out corrupt officials, and brought back dignity to the people of Burkina Faso. But now the challenge was different. Now the enemy was not only outside, it was inside. What the people didn't know was that somewhere deep inside the Ministry of Foreign Relations, a secret meeting was happening. Three men in suits, all with fake smiles, were planning something dangerous. "Traoré must not win the election," one of them whispered. "He is too popular. If we let him win fairly, we lose everything." A woman in military uniform stepped out of the shadows. She wasn't smiling. "Then we don't let him win fairly," she said coldly. Back at the palace, Captain Traoré sat with his team. His closest advisor, Karim, leaned forward. "Sir, I have to be honest. There are people inside this government who want you gone. They know you plan to give power to the people. That scares them." Traoré nodded slowly. "Then we give them something to fear, a free and fair election." But that night, something happened that would change everything. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the National Data Center, home to the future digital voter registry, was bombed. Flames lit up the sky. Traoré was rushed to the scene. Smoke, bodies, fear. This was no accident. And then they found a note, burned on the edges, but one line was still clear. "You think elections will save you? We control more than the ballots." The captain clenched his fists. Who was behind this? He didn't know it yet, but someone close to him had already been bought. After the explosion at the National Data Center, the entire country was shaken. News channels called it a terrorist act, but Traoré knew better. This was internal, he told Karim. They hit the one place that could guarantee free elections. "It's a message." Karim nodded but looked nervous. "Sir, there's something else." Traoré narrowed his eyes. "We intercepted a call. It was traced to someone inside the Ministry of Defense. The voice matches Colonel Diallo? Colonel Diallo, one of Traoré's oldest allies, a man he once called brother." Traoré leaned back, stunned. "Diallo? That's impossible. He fought beside me. He bled for this country." Karim said nothing, but even as the captain struggled to believe, deep inside a private compound in the north, Colonel Diallo sat with a French-speaking man in a gray suit. They poured wine over plans, military routes, electoral maps. "The plan is simple," Diallo said. "Disrupt the registry, create panic, then step in to restore order and take control." "And what of Traoré?" the man in the gray suit asked. Diallo smirked. "He still believes in democracy." Back in Ouagadougou, the streets were tense. People whispered. Some feared a return to the old days. But others stood up. One of them was Mariama, a 22-year-old university student and tech activist. She had once met Traoré during a youth summit. "He gave me hope," she told her friends, "and they're trying to steal it from us." Mariama and her team of young coders, called the Phoenix Circle, had been working in secret on a backup copy of the voter system. Just in case. They called it Safeguard. "Now is the time," she said. "We launch it." But that same night, her dorm room was broken into. Laptops were gone. One of her team members was missing. Mariama hid the last flash drive inside an old book and ran. Across town, Traoré received a warning from an anonymous message. "They are watching you. Diallo is not alone. Check the chief of security." Traoré turned to Karim. "Get me the file on General Tapsoba. Now." Karim hesitated. Just for a second. Too long. "Why the delay?" Traoré asked. Karim smiled weakly. "I'll get it right away." But Traoré's heart sank. He had just seen it. The hesitation of a traitor. Captain Ibrahim Traoré sat in his private office long after midnight, staring at the national flag. His hands were steady, but his mind was at war. Karim, his right hand. his most trusted advisor. That slight hesitation had changed everything. Could he really be the mole? Traoré activated a silent protocol. Cameras inside the palace began to record every movement, conversations, files accessed, everything. Across the city, Mariama hid in an abandoned internet cafe. She clutched the book that held the last backup of the safeguard system. The power was out. Her phone had no signal. She was alone, but she was not giving up. Inside the book was a number Captain Traoré had once given her. A private line. "Use it if your life is ever in danger," he had said. She dialed. The line rang once, twice. Then someone answered. "This is Traoré," she almost cried. "It's me, Mariama. I have the last copy of the voter system. They tried to take it." Traoré's voice sharpened. "Where are you?" But before she could answer, a black van pulled up outside the cafe. Two men in suits jumped out. Mariama dropped the phone and ran. Back at the palace, Karim was already in contact with Colonel Diallo. "She has the backup, but she made contact with Traoré. We'll need to move quickly." Diallo cursed. "We can't let that system go public. If the people vote freely, we lose. If Traoré wins, we're done." Karim replied, "Then we destroy the girl." Traoré, listening from a secured channel, heard everything. His heart broke. Karim, his brother in arms, his friend. The betrayal stung deeper than any bullet. "I trusted you," Traoré whispered to himself. But this was no time for sorrow. This was war. He made one phone call. "Activate Operation Ember Wind." Only 5 people in the country knew what that meant. A secret network of loyal soldiers and citizens trained in digital and ground operations. They had one mission now: find Mariama, protect the backup, expose the traitors. Meanwhile, Mariama ducked into a market alley, breathless, bleeding slightly from a fall. The book was still in her bag. She looked up and saw a woman standing near a spice stall. The woman gave a small nod. Without a word, Mariama followed her. She had just stepped into Burkina's underground resistance, a network the world didn't even know existed. And now, they would fight back. In the dim light of dawn, the railway yard echoed with shouts and engines. Mariama stood frozen, clutching the laptop to her chest. Munir was bleeding from his shoulder, but he stood in front of her, refusing to fall. The hit squad, dressed in black with no flags, pointed their rifles at the group of farmers, taxi drivers, welders, and students now surrounding them. One soldier barked, "Move aside or die!" But the people didn't move. A taxi driver raised a spanner. A grandmother raised a cooking pot. A teenage boy waved a slingshot. "We die on our feet," someone shouted, "not on our knees." And then from a rooftop nearby came the crack of a rifle. One of the hitmen dropped, then another. It was General Tapsoba's loyal snipers. Chaos exploded. Traoré, who was watching a live drone feed from the command center, spoke into the radio. "Move in. Protect the people. No mercy for traitors." Elite forces loyal to the captain arrived in armored trucks. The hit squad tried to flee, but the people blocked every exit with carts, trucks, and bare hands. Karim, watching from his secret safe house, screamed, "They've turned the people into soldiers!" Diallo, elsewhere, was already preparing a fake press conference. He had forged documents, fake ballots, and a foreign camera crew ready to accuse Traoré of election fraud. But his plan had one fatal flaw. The truth was about to be broadcast. Inside the military broadcast headquarters, Mariama was escorted in by Tapsoba himself. She handed the flash drive to the technician. "This is the real registry, unedited, undamaged. Let the world see it." Within minutes, the full system was uploaded. Every citizen of Burkina Faso saw their names on the list. Fair, free, clean. Traoré stood before the cameras, calm and clear. "To the people of Burkina Faso and to the world, the time of shadows is over. Elections will be held. Your voices will be heard. And I, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, will stand not as a ruler, but as a candidate." The streets erupted in cheers. Women cried. Men danced. Flags waved. Fireworks cracked in the sky. But not everyone celebrated. Colonel Diallo, hearing the broadcast, smashed the screen in rage. "No! He wasn't supposed to make it this far!" One of his own guards turned to him. "Sir, you've lost." Diallo reached for his pistol, but it was too late. The guard raised his own. A single shot. Diallo collapsed. Back at the palace, Traoré watched the results of the final operation. Karim had been captured trying to flee across the border with foreign agents. He refused to speak. But in his pocket, they found a note. "You were never supposed to believe in the people." Traoré looked out the window at the thousands now gathered outside the palace, chanting his name, not as a god, but as a brother. "Believing in the people," he whispered, "was the only thing that saved me." And just when he thought the worst was over, a general from a neighboring country called. "We need to talk," he said. "There's something happening in West Africa, and you're not the only target." Captain Ibrahim Traoré stood silent in his office, the general's warning still ringing in his ears. "You're not the only target." Across West Africa, the winds were shifting. Traoré's decision to hold transparent elections had inspired millions, but it had also made enemies. In Mali, Guinea, and Niger, shadow networks stirred. Leaders with dirty hands feared what Burkina Faso had done. If one country could rise with honor, what excuse would the rest have? The fear of democracy was louder than bombs. At the same time, foreign news channels began pushing fake reports. Traoré is staging the elections. He is building a secret army. He plans to never leave power. Traoré, in his address, looked straight into the camera. "I will leave power if I lose. And if I win, I will govern only as your servant." His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with fire. Meanwhile, Mariama was now a national hero. But she didn't return to normal life. She went village to village, helping people register digitally, teaching elders to vote, empowering youth to protect their future. "We are not just voters," she said to one group. "We are the guardians of the nation." But as the election neared, something unexpected happened. A new candidate emerged, not from the elites, not from the foreign-backed parties, but a school teacher named Issa Diabaté from the eastern border. He was soft-spoken but powerful with words. He praised Traoré but said, "I want to lead with books, not bullets." And suddenly the people had a real choice. Traoré didn't panic. He welcomed the challenge. But others did not. A mysterious attack was launched against Diabaté's convoy. 3 of his campaign workers were injured. The nation held its breath. Would Traoré strike back? Would he blame foreign hands? But instead, he did something no one expected. He visited Diabaté in the hospital. No cameras, no soldiers, just a handshake. "This is not a war of thrones," he said. "It's a test of truth." Election day arrived. Lines stretched for kilometers. Old women, blind men, teenage first-time voters, all waited in the heat. Even soldiers voted, off-duty, in civilian clothes. By evening, reports came in. Highest turnout in the country's history, 0 violence, no fraud. The results were announced 48 hours later. The final vote, Ibrahim Traoré, 58% Issa Diabaté, 39% others, 3%. The people had spoken. Traoré was now not just a captain or a revolutionary. He was a democratically elected president. The streets exploded with joy. Diabaté, with humility, walked into the palace gates and handed Traoré a gift. A book. "Lead wisely. Read often," he said with a smile. And so Traoré began a new journey, no longer as the man who took power with a gun, but as the man who won with integrity. In the following weeks, something incredible happened. Other West African nations began calling for their own free elections. People chanted his name, not to crown him king, but to remind their leaders what people power looked like. And Mariama? She was appointed head of the new Ministry of Digital Sovereignty, in charge of protecting the nation's systems from corruption and cyber attacks. One day as she walked past the same cafe where she once hid for her life, a boy stopped her. "You're the girl from the resistance, right?" She smiled. "We're all from the resistance." And far away in dark corners of the world, powerful men watched uneasy, because the spark had lit a fire, and the fire was freedom.